Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Pigskin Addicts, back again with another video. Now, you guys see the title and thumbnail of this video. I know it seems crazy, but we need to look at all possibilities here. I think Joe Alt, tackle from Notre Dame, I think it's a possibility for the Chargers at 5. Now, is it possible? Yes. Is it plausible? I don't think so. Some things have to work out in order for the Chargers to take him at number 5. There has to be a plan going forward, and that's kind of what I want to get into in this video here. So let's jump right into it. Joe Alt, we know that he is outstanding left tackle from the University of Notre Dame. And when you look at his measurables, right, the guy is huge. This is a huge human being, 6'9", 321 pounds, huge hands, 10-inch hands, and his arms, 34 and a quarter inches long. So big guy, long arms, very athletic as well, too. He is projected as the number one offensive tackle in this upcoming draft. Now, where it kind of gets a little tricky for the Chargers, right? And where I, kind of thought about this over the weekend is if the Chargers if they want to take Joe Alt, if they're interested in taking Joe Alt, I think Rashawn Slater is going to be playing somewhere else. I think he's obviously going to be on the trade block. And if Joe Alt were to be the pick, I think Rashawn Slater would be traded on draft night. And there are reasons why I wouldn't do this, personally, but I think we have to put this into context when we look at the new administration, when we look at Harbaugh, when we look at Joe Ortiz. I think they feel they are very, very plugged in as far as personnel goes. I think both of them feel that they can, pretty much make something out of nothing as far as personnel moves to be made. They feel like they can draft starters or sign starters, right? They feel like they can get value from starters in the first round all the way to undrafted free agents. When you look at their track records, that's, kind of what they have done over their careers as far as the NFL is concerned. When you look at Ortiz, when you look at what they did in Baltimore, again, I talked about it so many times. They've gotten great value out of late round draft picks, out of undrafted free agents. They're pretty confident in what they do in Baltimore. And now he brings that over to LA. And then when you look at Jim Harbaugh, I mentioned this again before too. Jim Harbaugh has a lot of information on these guys who are going to be coming into the NFL from all the way from this year. So guys, high school seniors that are going to be freshmen playing this upcoming season. He's got notes on them because those are guys that he's recruited. Those are guys that, he either visited, at home or whatever. These guys took unofficial or official visits to the University of Michigan. These are guys that he has tape on. So these are guys in, freshmen this year. He's going to have notes and, some information on players from this year, as freshmen in college football. So when you look at these guys, when they're ready to go to the NFL in 2, 3, 4 years, he's still going to have notes on them. So I think that they're very, very confident in the way that they are going to, operate as far as the personnel is concerned and as far as, talent acquisition is concerned. I think that they are very, very, very confident in the way that they're going to do things. So when you think about that, it kind of makes the Rashawn Slater thing a probability to me. Again, I think the probability of it is very low, but it is a probability nonetheless. I think it's low. I can't see it happening, but we also have to think too. At this point right now, we did not expect Keenan Allen to be a Chicago Bear. We have to remember, these guys are not emotionally tied to any of these players on the roster, right? Outside of Justin Herbert, they're not emotionally tied to anybody else. Keenan Allen was a career Charger. He's gonna retire a Charger, hopefully. The best wide receiver that the franchise has seen, and they shipped him off to Chicago for a fourth round pick. So I think when we're looking at the way that they are going to operate as far as personnel goes, I think we have to understand they are not tied to anybody emotionally. So to avoid any type of heartbreak or whatever, we have to remember that going forward. Our favorite players can be in another city in the next 24 hours. That's always something to remain cognizant of. This is a new administration, and with change comes this type of thing. So we have to deal with it. Now, I think the number one reason why this would happen, how this could potentially happen, is to avoid the Chargers having to pay and possibly overpay, in the minds of Harbaugh and in the minds of Ortiz, Rashawn Slater, because he's going to be coming up for contract, right? He's going to be coming up. He's obviously outplayed his rookie contract. He's been tremendous. He's been excellent for the Chargers, on the field, off the field. He's been great. We get it. We know that. But again, these guys are not emotionally tied to anybody on this team right now outside of number 10. So when you go and look at the cap, right? Not the cap, but what tackles are getting paid and how they're getting paid. So when you go and you look at the top 5 tackles who are getting paid in the NFL, obviously Tunsil is number 1 at an average of $25 million a year. Andrew Thomas, 23.5. Trent Williams, 23. Lane Johnson, 20. And Deion Dawkins, 20. So when you are looking at this here, where do you plug Rashawn Slater in? Where do you plug Rashawn Slater? If you say, okay, he's not going to reset the market, and Laremy Tunsil is a little better than Rashawn Slater, I'll give you that. But outside of everybody else, where does he land? To me, he lands between 2 and 3. Right, maybe Lane Johnson is a little older, so I think he can be a little ranked higher than Lane Johnson. Just as far as tackle pay goes, is he in the Trent Williams territory at $23 million a year? I think certainly. I think if the Chargers are going to take Joe Alt, I think it's going to be because they do not want to commit to Rashawn Slater long term, and they do not want to break the bank for him. Again, I would pay him. I think he's been terrific for us. He's been a starter since day one. He's done everything that the Chargers have asked of him, and he's been good. He's been very, very good, even though, offensive line coaching, offensive line play kind of up and down. But he's been a guy that you can rely on week in and week out to do his job. I would personally pay him. But Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz are not me. So I do not know what they're thinking as far as how they want to construct this team, because in the mind, again, if you get into their minds and think they are confident in what they're able to do as far as personnel goes, do they think that there is that big of a jump between Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt? Do they think in a year, when we're sitting here a year from now, do they think that it's going to be that much of a jump? Right? Joe Alt's going to come in on a rookie contract. He's going to get paid, I don't know, $3 million or whatever, $3-4 million is going to be his base salary, and you're looking at that from possibly $24-25 million. And is there going to be a huge discrepancy in a guy getting paid $4 million and a guy getting paid $25 million possibly? I think they're probably looking at that. There are some mock drafts that I've seen that have the Chargers taking Joe Alt. I've seen multiple of them, and I don't know. I just why am I keep seeing these? Why do I keep seeing these? I didn't know. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it, but it's finally starting to kick in and make sense to me. If the Chargers want to save money, and it looks like, as far as the salary cap goes, they're going to be a little more tight-walleted than, the Telesco days. It seems like they are going to pay premium positions, but it just depends on who the player is and how much they're going to give him. I don't think the Chargers are going to overpay anybody in the Harbaugh and Ortiz era. They've already come out and set a precedent for that. I don't think that anybody's getting overpaid. So depending on what Rashawn Slater and his representation are going to want, I think this is in play. I honestly think this is in play. I really do. Now, in thinking about this, right, over the weekend, I thought about it, and I'm thinking, is it a possibility that either of these guys, right, let's say the Chargers do draft Joe Alt, right, without trading Rashawn Slater yet, do any of these guys kick out to the right side? Joe Alt has been a left tackle at Notre Dame his entire career. That's where he, put up, most of his good tape at. It's been on the left side. You can go through all his highlights and look. He's on the left side. I don't see him on the right side at all. I've never seen Rashawn Slater play on the right side in the NFL or at Northwestern. I know he did play a little bit of guard, but I'd never seen him on the right side as far as the tackle position is concerned. I've never seen any of these guys on the right side as far as the tackle position is concerned, because that's what I was thinking. Maybe you can kick one of these guys out to right tackle. No, I don't think that's a possibility or an option either. The Chargers are locked in at least one more year with Trey Pipkins, and I do not believe that Trey Pipkins is going anywhere. So when you pull up his contract that he signed last year, you can see that there is an out after this year. There's going to be an out after this year. But this year, if the Chargers wanted to cut him, even if he was a camp cut or whatever, that is a dead cap hit of $11.2 million. That's quite a big hit considering all of the dead cap that the Chargers have, accrued by trading Keenan Allen, by letting Mike Williams go. There's quite a bit of dead cap there already. I don't think that that's something they want to add to, just to let a player go, just to let a Pipkins go when they can get out of this next year. And if they end up cutting him next year, the dead cap is only $2.5 million. So it makes sense that the Chargers would keep this guy here. Now, I don't know, will Trey Pipkins start? I have no idea. I don't know if Harbaugh, I don't know if the Ortiz, I don't know what they think about him, or, as far as their evaluations and all that stuff. I don't know. Can he be the swing tackle? Maybe. That seems likely to me, but I don't know how they feel about him. Again, they didn't draft him. They have no prior relationship with him, so I don't know how they feel about him. But I do know that he will probably be suiting up for the Chargers this year. That $11.2 million, I think, is too much to eat at this point right now, especially because the Chargers do not expect to compete seriously this year with all the cuts and stuff that they've made. They're really, just getting this roster back in order and trying to restructure things and set things up financially to make sense in order for them to compete, for years on end. I don't think cutting him right now makes a whole lot of sense. I really, really, really do not. So this really leaves, is it Alt or is it Slater? If it came down to that, again, just like I said in the beginning, is it a possibility? Yes. Is it plausible to me right now? No, I just don't think that. But don't be surprised if this happens. And I wanted to cover every option as far as the draft is concerned. I think if the draft was right now and they were forced to make their pick, they got 5 minutes to make their pick. I honestly think Malik Neighbors is the pick. But, the draft is not for another 3 weeks, I believe, right? So there's these scenarios that are being talked over right now. They're being talked over right now in the front office, and I think a lot of options are up on the table right now. The Chargers, again, I don't believe that they are going to compete, for a Super Bowl this year. So I think a lot of options are on the table, and as far as team building goes, they're not going to be able to get that done in 1 year. So I think what they value is going to be number one. What Harbaugh, what Ortiz, what they value is going to be number one. If it's cap flexibility, then I think this is a very, very plausible thing that could happen. I just wanted to put that out there. Nobody, should be taking shots at me about this or anything, but I think this is important to look at all angles. We do not know. We have really no precedent, what this new administration is going to do, what they value as far as drafting. The only thing we do know is that Jim Harbaugh does value offensive line play. He values good offensive line play. He values huge offensive linemen. Joe Alt is a huge offensive lineman. So, let's not look over this and say, this is completely out of the realm of the possibility. Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball. We know that he likes to run the ball. We expect him to run the ball a lot this year. This big, huge offensive tackle coming in on a rookie contract, right, as opposed to, breaking the bank for Rashawn Slater, and, he's had his injuries, so it's just something to look at. It's just something to look at, just giving you guys something to think about here, because when you think about it, it does make a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, especially if they don't believe that there's going to be a huge drop-off in play between Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. It makes a huge difference. And I think the only thing that we don't know yet is what they are thinking, what their mindset is going to be. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out in 3 weeks. Again, I just wanted to come on here and cover all possibilities. I think everything is in play right now for the Chargers. I think, some scenarios are way more likely than others, but I think everything is in play. This is a fresh slate. This is going to be their first draft pick of the new era. So I think everything is in play, and I think there's going to be a lot of things that happen that, we might not expect. But again, we have to just give them time, and then we'll be able to see after, this draft, we'll be able to see what they really value, right? Especially when it comes time to cuts and training camps and stuff like that. We'll see what they value. What do they value? Do they value cap flexibility? Do they value superstar power? Do they value, multiple draft picks, things like that? We just have to see what this administration is going to value and how they choose to build this team. But that is all I got for this video, guys. Just wanted to go over this possibility really quickly. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Really appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who keeps supporting me and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. But yeah, that's all I got for this video, guys. And until next time.